Hi, so in this video this is very much leading on from the video that I did on multiplying and dividing fractions. So if you haven't watched that, you need to go back and watch that one first. Because what we're going to do now is we're going to follow on from that, but this time we're going to add in the element of mixed numbers. Now, when you're adding and subtracting with mixed numbers, there's a couple of different techniques, but very much with multiplication and division, you must, and I can't emphasise this enough, you must convert to improper fractions. Okay, so very, very important, you must do that first before you do anything else, okay? Once you've done that, then everything else just follows on in exactly the same way it did before. So, the first one then, hopefully you've remembered how to do this from a previous video I did with you, but as I said, if you need to go back and check, that's the one on equivalent fractions, where I've also got part of that about converting between proper, improper fractions and mixed numbers. So first of all, 3 and 3/7, if we turn that into an improper fraction, 3 whole ones have, every whole one has got 7 sevenths in it. So if we've got 3 of them, then that's 21. 21 plus 3 is 24 because we've got the extra 3 here. So that is 24 over 7, first of all. And then the next one, we've got 4 whole ones and we're looking at thirds this time. So there are 12 thirds there because there's 3 in every single one, and there are 4 of them. And then we've got another 2 left over, so that is 14 thirds, okay? And then everything just proceeds as it did before. So we look for anything we can cancel, and if you remember from what I did in the previous video on multiplying fractions, we can cancel any numerator with any denominator. So here I've got a common factor of 3 first of all. 3 goes into itself once, 3 is into 24 goes 8 times, and I've also got a common factor of 7. 7 goes into itself once, and 7 goes into 14 twice. And so therefore all I need to do now is multiply across. 8 times 2 is 16, 1 times 1 is 1. And as I've said before, if you get something over 1, that means it's a whole number, so we end up with just 16. So the next question, number 2, we've got 4 times by 2 1/3. Now there's a couple of things I would change here. First of all, the 4 I would write as 4 over 1. Any whole number, if you're trying to multiply it, write it over 1. It's only in the answer that you would change it back. We're going to multiply that by 2 1/3. So 2 whole ones has got 6 thirds plus the 1, that's 7 overall. Okay, so we've got 7 thirds. Now we look to see if we can cancel anything, and in this case we actually don't have any common factors. There's no common factors with the numerator or the denominators, so all we do is multiply across. 4 times 7 is 28, and 1 times 3 is 3. Now you don't leave your answer like that, that's an improper fraction that we now need to turn back into a mixed number. So we say to ourselves, how many times does 3 go into 28 exactly? And it goes in 9 times. 9 3s are 27, so that's 9 whole ones. And 27 is how many we would get there, so we've got 1 left over to make it up to 28. So therefore it's 9 1/3. Right, moving on to the division questions then. So first of all, I'm going to write the sum to the side with improper fractions, and then we're going to remember what we do when we're dividing. So 2 2/5, so again, 2 whole ones have got 10 fifths in it, so you do 2 times 5 to give you the 10, plus the 2 here, so that's 12. So we'd have 12 fifths divided by, now 1 1/5, so 1 whole one has got 5 fifths, plus the 1, okay, so that's 6 over 5. Now I've put it in brackets here because once you become more confident you might be able to do these 2 steps at the same time, but it's up to you, and I would recommend at this point you take it 1 step at a time. So if you remember from the previous video that I did on dividing fractions, what you have to do is you keep your first fraction, so we keep the 12/5, we change the divide to a times, and then we flip this fraction, so that becomes 5/6 instead of 6/5, because these are equivalent calculations. Then we look to see if there's anything we can cancel, and in this case we can cancel the 5's because 5 goes into itself once in both cases, and we can cancel here by 6. 6 goes into itself once, and 6 goes into 12 twice. So now we have 2 times 1 is 2, 1 times 1 is 1. So overall our answer is 2. Lastly then, again converting these first, you must do that first, change into improper fractions. So 2 whole ones is 8 quarters, 8 fours, plus the 3, we have there 11/4 divided by, okay, now this time we have 1 whole one, which is 7/7, plus the 4 is 11, so we've got 11/7. Now we write it out as a multiplication sum, so we keep the first fraction as it is, we change the divide to a times, and we flip this fraction, so it becomes 7/11. And then we follow the same steps, look for anything we can cancel. 11 goes into itself once, we can't cancel the 7 and the 4 or indeed anything else. 1 times 7 is 7, 4 times 1 is 4. Now 7/4 again is an improper fraction. How many times does 4 go into 7? Exactly, goes in once. What's left over? Well, 4 times 1 is 4, 5, 6, 7, we've got 3 left over, so it's 3 quarters. So the answer to that is 1 3/4, and that is how you multiply and divide when you've got mixed numbers.